Is the sitcom sensibility of She-Hulk being dragged down to hell? Keep watching to find out which comics character might step in and shatter the vibe. You know the drill by now. Another day means another round of fresh speculation concerning the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Never mind that fans have been burned many a time before by leaping to conclusions that weren't necessarily as cut and dry as they might have hoped. Remember the hype surrounding Evan Peters' appearance in WandaVision? Only for all those dreams of the X-Men waltzing into the MCU to turn into Ralph Boner?
Boner.
Or what about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, seemingly catapulting to all those fan casts for John Krasinski to take on the role of Reed Richards, only for the alternate universe character to find himself, a bit stretched out instead? Anyway, all of these past examples of lessons learned should probably run through every fan's mind before anyone jumps the gun and starts setting their expectations way too high all over again with the latest episode of She-Hulk Attorney at Law. But where would the fun be in that? In a refreshing change of pace from most other Marvel installments, She-Hulk has remained largely unconcerned with keeping the arc of the overall franchise moving. Sure, it's self-aware about all of its cameos and references, even going as far to expand the universe even further by laying the groundwork for some exciting new additions. But in all likelihood, nobody expected any major reveals or confirmations from the show teased from the start as a half-hour legal comedy. Of course, that's not stopping viewers from going all in anyway. This time, the breathless discourse revolves around a certain Marvel character whom fans have clamored for time and time again. That's right, folks. We're talking about Mephisto again. Once upon a time, MCU fans were convinced that the famous comic book villain, Mephisto, essentially an extra-dimensional demon who presides over his unique version of hell, would show up in WandaVision, all despite a serious lack of actual evidence in its favor. But as if to prove that the powers that be truly do work in mysterious ways, the fourth episode of She-Hulk might have just provided our biggest tease of this character's existence in the MCU. And that potential tease came courtesy of the delightful antics of party girl Madisynn. Who else?
Where am I? What happened to all the goblins? Who are you? Are you the Goblin King?
The fourth episode's story sees Jen Walters wrapped up in a sorcerer's spat between Master of the Mystic Arts Wong and cheap knockoff magician Donnie Blaze, who just won't stop sending audience volunteers into other dimensions as part of his magic act. During one such excursion, however, the oblivious Madisynn details her journey into a fireland where she was forced to make a pact with the demon to escape.
I made a pact with a demon that I cannot discuss. Otherwise, he said he would reap my soul and the souls of all I love.
As much as this wouldn't quite be admissible under court, you have to admit that the circumstantial evidence here is pretty compelling. Yes, we've been through this song and dance before, so why should we go full conspiracy theory about Mephisto now? Well, for one thing, we can likely rest assured that She-Hulk won't derail its entire story and breezy tone just to take a swerve into left field by bringing Mephisto into the action. It's just another fun little tease in a show that's bursting with such winks and nods. And thanks to Madisynn, the writers may have found the funniest possible vehicle to further hint at Mephisto's existence in the MCU.
Case closed.
Okay, no. This case is far from closed.
For those in need of a refresher about just why this would be such a big deal, Mephisto in the comics has enjoyed a pretty wild history of messing with countless characters in the Marvel Universe, obsessed with enslaving souls for his own nefarious purposes. The villain has always stood out in the imagination of comic readers and would certainly present a formidable threat if ever he was to appear in live action in the MCU. Granted, Madisynn describes a demonic fella hilariously named Jake, which doesn't really line up with any pseudonym Mephisto traditionally operates under. The closest, as pointed out by Comic Book, would be Jack Scratch, but that feels like a bit of a stretch, right? This is by no means a clear-cut case, as attorney Jen Walters herself would be the first to admit. But anything's possible.